All right, folks, thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Aaron Clark. I'm a sales executive here at OCI for those of you that don't know me. And I've got Brent DeGroot with us today with OneAmerica. And he's got a very, impressive story to tell today about annuities, long-term care solutions, and how you can use them into your practice. The one thing, as I've been teaching webinars and we've been having partners and colleagues come on, the one thing I've been sharing that I will continue to reiterate until I beat the dead horse completely to the ground is that your clients are absolutely buying these products that we're teaching you about and we're talking to you about today. And so we want to get this information in front of you because they need to be buying them from you. So I'm not going to take any time. Brent's got about a 30-minute long presentation. We'll stick around afterwards to answer any questions if there are any. But other than that, Brent, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn the controls over to you, my friend.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Aaron. And thank you, everybody, for coming out. I probably need to make this in presentation mode really quick. So give me a moment. And I probably need to flip it. Are you seeing the full screen, Aaron? Just to make sure.
I can see your slides on the left as well. So
Yeah. Okay. So let's do this. Now it should be better.
yep, you're good.
Awesome. Perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you again. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, OCI, for having me today. And thank you all for coming out today. Very happy to talk about a solution that is going to be a very effective and efficient solution or opportunity to work with your clientele, existing clientele. And really, we're talking about using an annuity to plan for any long-term care expenses. So long-term care is a topic that is coming up more and more, and I'm sure many of your clients have probably already asked you about some things. And so really in a great, effective, and efficient way of doing so. And we're going to be kind of using the benefits of the Pension Protection Act. So I'll get into that in just a minute. But hopefully many of you have heard of the silver tsunami. And just if I would look at a definition that came out of Wikipedia, it says the tide of chronic diseases arising from an aging population which threatens to swamp our healthcare system, economy, and quality of life. So that's a fairly scary, quote there out of Wikipedia. But I thought I'd also give you just a little visual of maybe what that looks like also. So here's the silver tsunami that is coming, this age wave that is about to really hit America, and all of us will be affected in some way, somehow. So how are we preparing for that? Well, the government's been preparing for quite some time. So a lot of numbers on this slide. I do want to talk about very quickly how they relate to the silver tsunami. If we start all the way back in 2000, at least on that top timeline there, you can see that the annual LTC expenditures were about 30 billion. So not that terribly much, but if we just fast forward 15 years, the annual expenses had grown by over 750% increase there to 225 billion. And that's going to continue to grow. I mean, very interestingly, if we look at where long-term care claims generally start, they're somewhere between 80 and 85. Well, many of you probably already know that January 1st of 2026, so just next year, not even a year away, the first boomer is turning age 80. So with that 80, 10,000 of them turning 80 every day thereafter, we know that this age wave, this silver tsunami is coming. So the government's been preparing for this for quite a number of years, all the way back with HIPAA, the Deficit Reduction Act, certainly one that we're going to be talking about today, which started in 2006 is when the bill was created. The Pension Protection Act actually put in place 2010. So we've really had more than 15 years of the Pension Protection Act being out there. There's the fiduciary rules, there was Washington CARES Act, 12 more states looking at some of this. But all of this is really the government trying to plan and prepare for this silver tsunami that's coming. So really working with our clients, if we look at our client book overall, they're planners, right? They want to work with us to make sure that they've got an effective plan in place. So really what the government's been doing is trying to coax those Americans into planning as well. So really what that's going to stem from or work around is the annuity marketplace. And whatever really line of business you focus on, whether it's Medicare, P&C, life insurance, whether you're a financial planner, even annuity producers, your clients, many of your clients have annuities already in their portfolios. So if we look at the annuity marketplace, you can see how big it is, 2.29 trillion in total retirement assets are in existing annuities. If we look just at 2023, the total annuity sales, $385 billion. So that's huge. Not quite as big as 2.29 trillion, but again, it was a huge marketplace. 2024, I think it was like 405 billion in sales. So again, the market is huge. What we realize is that many of our clients already have annuities in their portfolio. So whether we know about them or not, this might be something that you want to ask your clients. Just add it to your sales process with your clients or working with your clients, the advice that you're going to give them, and really drive a very easy, effective, and efficient way to drive some more revenue in your business as well. So we know how big the market is. Gallup, about every other year, does a poll with annuity owners. And here are some stats that came out of that Gallup poll. 84% said they tend to use their annuity that they purchased as a financial cushion in case they outlive their life expectancy, they or their spouse. 79% said they wanted to avoid being a financial burden to their children. And here 67% said they plan to use it for an emergency situation or a catastrophic illness like nursing home care. So really all three of those tend to lend themselves towards long-term care planning in and of itself. So if we know that's essentially why they bought these annuities, we also need to look at why they kind of started this whole process. And largely, many of those consumers said that tax deferral was a big incentive for reason that they wanted to purchase these annuities. They saw this as I could put some non-tax dollars or after-tax dollars, I should say, into an annuity and just let it grow for years. All of that gain, though, becomes taxable when they start taking those distributions. So you can see the tax deferral as an incentive was a great reason to do so. And it remains very high and for some Americans to be planning this way as well. But when it comes to distribution, they now look at this as a tax liability, largely because the longer they've had that non-qualified annuity in play, just gaining over those years, they're more and more taxable gain that is in those annuities. So if we looked at really the two phases of annuities, why Americans put them in the first place? Well, it's all about accumulation and growth, right? They wanted to start these annuities early on in their lifetime, some point, and just let them grow over time. Well, obviously, when it comes time to use that, that's when we'll start talking about that second phase. So payout and distribution. As I said on the last slide, really what has shown is that it becomes a tax liability. It's almost a disincentive to use those because of how much gain is now in those contracts. Well, that's again where the government has really been working on incentivizing Americans to use those annuities. And it's a very simple way of doing that. And it's done through the Pension Protection Act. Now, Pension Protection Act largely was crafted around pension reform. But there was a subsection of the Pension Protection Act, 844 here, that dealt specifically with new tax treatments for existing annuities. And they said specific annuities, and really what they meant were non-qualified. So those that were purchased with after-tax dollars, but left to grow over those years tax deferred, right? So that's what we're talking about here, utilizing the Pension Protection Act with non-qualified annuities. So really what I wanted to talk about today was giving you this very efficient way to do a tax efficient annuity exchange. I've been working in the long-term care industry now for 23 years. And quite honestly, there's been two things that have always come up or reared their ugly head when discussing any long-term care planning. First and foremost is underwriting surprises. Nobody likes them. Nobody likes when you get a rated case or a declined case for that matter. And what if I told you that I could show you a way that we can create a plan with no underwriting surprises? As a matter of fact, you'll know up front whether you even talk to them about this situation. More on that in just a minute. The other one was premium dollars. Where do I get the premium dollars for this? I don't like to ask for, maybe larger sums of money, if you will. Well, if they've already got non-qualified annuities in their portfolio, now you're going to show them a way to mitigate a very effective way to mitigate taxes by just doing a simple annuity exchange. So if you can get rid of those two pieces, again, very effective and efficient way. So again, we're utilizing the Pension Protection Act, and here's what happens. So an existing non-qualified annuity, the cost basis, they took that out with after-tax dollars, that's not going to be taxable. But all of the gains, so the longer they've had this annuity in their portfolio, the longer and the more gain has grown in that contract. Now, when they start to take distributions from that, they're going to be taxed in many different ways: federal, state, provisional income, their Medicare premiums, IRMA, if you've heard of that. All of that could be affected when they start taking these lucrative contracts that they took out early on in their retirement years. But simply, if we just utilize the Pension Protection Act and exchange that annuity for a Pension Protection Act compliant annuity, and all of ours here at OneAmerica Financial are just that, now all of that gain in that contract becomes income tax free if used for long-term care. So this is a great effective strategy to work with your clients on mitigating taxes. Now, I told you that very easily you can have your clients qualify. So can your client qualify? Well, you can know up front whether they're going to qualify. You can show them these knockout questions. And you can see that there's 5 listed on there. Yes, they're not in numerical order. It starts at 5 and goes to 9. We're really only going to use the first 4 for underwriting purposes for this particular solution that I'm here to talk to you about. Must be done through our EAP process, but we're just going to do a simple 1035 exchange from one annuity into a PPA compliant annuity. And we're going to use those simple 4 knockout questions right there. We will ask the 5th, but it is not going to be used for underwriting purposes. So what are these? Well, the first 3 are saying, are you needing care today? So if we look at the first one, do they use any mechanical devices, wheelchair, walker, quad cane, oxygen, motorized scooter, things of that nature? So we'll know right up front. If they can say no to that, sure, we move on to the next. Do they currently need any help with their activities of daily living? That's a trigger for a long-term care policy, right? So if they can answer no to that, we move on to the third question. Third question is the biggie conditions. Do they have Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, Lou Gehrig's, muscular dystrophy, things of that nature? If they can answer no, then we go to that 4th knockout question. Have they ever been diagnosed with AIDS or AIDS-related disorders? And that's it. Those 4 knockout questions will say whether you can offer this solution to your clients or not. But remember, why we're doing this, yes, it's great to put a long-term care plan in place, but this is really a tax mitigation strategy. So when you're doing 1035 exchanges, likely many of you know, but I'll remind you that it must be a like-for-like situation. Many of those annuities that are already in your client's portfolio are individually owned. However, when they understand the tax benefits that we're showing them by utilizing a Pension Protection Act annuity, many times they're saying, well, gosh, how can I maximize this? Can I put my spouse on there as well? Well, we've got a provision here at OneAmerica that allows just for that. So we'll still do a 1035 exchange. It'll still be like for like, so individual to individual, but we can add their spouse, and it must be their spouse in this 1035 exchange. We give them joint access. So we add them as an eligible person. So now we can maximize having both people. Yes, they must qualify by that 4 knockout question application again, but there's no surprises. Again, they can look at those questions and say, yeah, I can truthfully answer no to all 4 of those questions and be instantly approved. So very simple, very effective, very efficient way of putting a long-term care plan in place and helping your clients with taxation. So I do get some questions around this. Well, if I'm comparing annuities, what are my clients giving up? Well, they're not giving up anything. These annuities will still grow. They've still got interest rates afforded to them. They're actually going to be all of these benefits that are on here, but you're going to see that they're going to gain some extras. One, all of that income can be income tax free if used for long-term care just by doing this simple 1035 exchange. We can add that spouse to maximize the taxation benefits. And then all of our policies here at OneAmerica come with our claims benefit concierge. And this is a great program, and why many of the clients want to just 1035 exchange into these PPA annuities anyway. They love the taxation benefits of it, but they really will love the claims benefit concierge because they're the ones who will help them through any of these claim type situations. One person in Indianapolis that will be assigned for the life of that claim. So some extra benefits by just doing this 1035 exchange as well. So what am I talking about? Well, we're just going to do an annuity exchange from one annuity to one of our solutions in our Pension Protection Act annuity suite. So either original annuity care or our indexed annuity care. Now, we have to do this through our e-app. And if you do so, I would highly encourage that because we're going to give instant approval. They can answer no to those 4 questions. They're instantly approved. And we can do this all the way up to $1 million. Issue ages, and that's a big one as well. We understand that when clients, the more they age, the more those long-term care concerns become more prevalent in their mind. They start talking to their family members, their friends who are all aging as well. And they're starting to see some of these claims come into play and how expensive truly they can be. Well, this simple 1035 exchange, we can do it all the way up to age 87. So a very quick look at your book of business, look at those from ages 70 to 87. And we can do a simple 1035 exchange here. Again, remember all those benefits then that were going to be taxed if they left it where it was at would now be income tax free for long-term care. We can offer it to both spouses through that eligible person provision, and they come with that claims benefit concierge strategy as well. So I wanted to give you very briefly a quick scenario, if you will. And I'm going to use our indexed annuity care here. But here's a female age 77. She had an existing annuity that had grown now to 200,000. So she started it fairly early on, and it had grown much more than the original amount that she had put in, but it's now 200,000. So what we're going to do is just 1035 exchange, doing that e-app via our e-app process, ask those 4 knockout questions, and if they can answer no, be instantly approved. Well, here's what happened with this 77-year-old. So we took that 1035 exchange of that 200,000, put it into indexed annuity care. And now I want to show you the growth that happened over that process. So essentially after year 1, I think starting out when we just did the original annuity care exchange, they had an $8,600 monthly benefit amount, but it's still going to continue to grow as long as they're not accessing that. So now the monthly benefit amount has grown after year 1 to 8762 as a monthly LTC benefit. But remember, I like to say not only the benefits are going to grow, but the money's going to grow as well. So if we look at that death value or death benefits or the account values there, 200,000 after year one has now grown to over 208,000. But she's 77. If she can answer no to those questions, likely she'll reach 87. So let's look at 10 years of growth. Now that 87.62 after year one has grown to $14,716 as a monthly benefit if she ever needs care. Well, what if she only needed, call it 11,000 worth of care? Well, that just stays in the pool and elongates that process of how much that money is available to her. But again, I like to focus on the growth here because look at that account value. It started at 200,000 and after 10 years has now grown to 321,000. And we actually give more in LTC benefits. So we're over 350,000 in benefits for any long-term care services. So I really wanted to just kind of show you kind of how those grow as well. And again, I want to talk about instant approval because you don't hear long-term care and instant approval too many times in the same sentence. So do a quick review. Look at your own book of business. Look for those clients 70 all the way up to age 87. And it might just behoove you because we know that many of these clients already have annuities on their portfolios, whether you help them with that annuity or not. So it just simply says, it begs a question really to say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Client, do you happen to have any annuities on your portfolio that I don't know about? I've been really working with some of my clients to mitigate taxes on some of those. Can we just do a quick review of that annuity? Very simple, easy question, door opener to ask. Then you can talk about the Pension Protection Act, how it's been around for over 15 years now. Obviously, the older they get more and more concerned about those long-term care costs. And really, that old annuity that they already have in their portfolio, whether you help them with it or not, that's a dead asset to you. By simply 1035 exchanging, now it becomes a new revenue source for you as well. And very simply, like I said, no underwriting surprises. You have 4 knockout questions, you know them up front. No new premiums. You don't even have to ask for any new premiums. We're just simply exchanging one annuity for another. So I am going to offer up some questions, but while we're kind of gathering some of those, I gave you a kind of a scary look at what the silver tsunami looks like, and why we're planning for this. But now I want to show you those clients of you that you will work with, what that looks like to those clients that you are working with. So a little levity here, but yes, those clients that you work with and that silver tsunami that's coming, they're just going to ride that wave right out. So now we'll go back to those questions, Aaron. We'll open it up for any of those.
That's great. Good job, Brent. Appreciate that. Always good information from you, and you do a good job presenting it. So thank you for that. Yeah, we'll stick around and for a few minutes and see if there's any questions out there. If anyone has any, feel free to unmute yourself and fire away. Interrupt me. One thing I didn't say, shame on me at the very beginning, is the reason that we brought this to you today is because June happens to be Annuity Awareness Month. So OCI is trying to get a little bit creative with some of our marketing. You're going to be seeing an email coming out pretty soon with a little 2-minute blurb from myself, and we're going to be flooding you with information, folks. And the reason is because not only is this opportunity huge for all the reasons Brent said with this silver tsunami and the boomers and all this lazy idle money sitting there that's probably just going to pass to the next generation, this shows you how to leverage it. Not only that, you're helping your clients tremendously. And again, your clients are buying these. They need to be buying them from you. Brent said, take a look at your existing CRM, your existing database. That is the very best place to find new business. So I'll stop yapping for a second, see if you've got any questions. And if not, then we'll let you get on about your workday. Anyone have anything? Going once? Twice? I guess we're done. Brent, thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you soon. We'll do this again at another time, and we'll get this, for those of you that are on here, we will get this sent out to you as a copy recording, just so you'll have it. You can watch it over again. If you need any supplemental marketing material, please call us. You can call me direct. My direct line is 913-568-2040. myself, my team members, and Brent, all of us can help get that. You guys need to have this in your arsenal. It's a great, great tool to have there. So thank you for being on here today, Brent. Thanks as always, and you guys have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you all.